So you decided to start praying. And it began initially as just you going out to the 50-yard line after the games and saying a prayer. Which is, do we agree, Jeremy, like originally, even under the school's argument, that was okay?
Yeah, going out to the prayer by himself. Look, this was 8 years that he did that. And over time, look, it did evolve into students coming by and saying, what are you doing? He said, I'm praying for you. And can we join you? Sure, it's a free country, he says. But, 8 years go by and they ask him to stop that practice of praying with the students. And he says, sure, my commitment to God didn't involve anybody else. It just involved me talking to him. And so Coach thought that was kind of the end of it, that he'd just go back to his initial practice of taking a knee by himself at the 50-yard line. And that'd be the end of it. But here we are now. What we thought was going to be a 3-week case has turned into almost 7 years of litigation.
So just so the audience understands, Jeremy, the teacher showing up in the morning school session and saying, let's all bow our heads and pray together. No, not okay, right? That
not
would
okay. No, that's not a case we would take at all. I mean,
yeah.
Look,
and let me just finish though, because on the opposite side is Coach, let's say even better circumstances, just quietly bowing his head on the sidelines. Nobody even sees it and saying a prayer. There's no way they could outlaw that. This is one step above that. Initially, it's him going to the 50-yard line and taking a knee and saying a private prayer. I still think that's okay. I think the school thought it was okay for 8 years, and then kids voluntarily joining him is where the school started to get upset, because their argument in court is it was coercive to the other players. Like, other players started to feel like, and they only, as far as I could tell, had one alleged example of this, like they had to. Because if it's coercive, that's why the teacher's not allowed to do it in the beginning of the school day. If it's coercive, I better do it or coach is not going to play me. Then we cross a legal line. Am I correct in my analysis?
You're pretty darn close. Look, the problem with the analysis here is that the school district has continued to move the goalposts on the coach. And so initially they said, look, praying with the kids is a problem. I said, fine, no problem. I don't need to do that. I just wanted to pray by myself. They said, well, no, it's going to take away from your job responsibilities to take 15 seconds to get on a knee and pray like you'd be tying your shoes, just the same posture. We want you to instead go into the school building, way across the field, across a practice field, into the school building, down the hallway into the janitor's office. That certainly takes more than 15 seconds. But even then, that was exposed because they said, look, if you can engage in any demonstrative religious activity in the sight of any student, that could be coercive. That could be an establishment of religion, an endorsement of religion in violation of the Constitution. And it was very clear at the argument on April 25th that the school district now maintains that if any student can see an authority figure engaged in religious activity, demonstrative religious activity is what they said in their initial letter back in 2015, that's enough to terminate somebody. So what does that mean? Well, that means if even your analysis of that far right side, that what you think would be protected of a coach on the sidelines, maybe the kicker is going to kick the game-winning field goal and he bows his head or crosses himself to hope that ball goes through the uprights. That demonstrative religious activity could be sufficient to terminate that coach. What about the teacher praying in the cafeteria over her lunch and students happen to see her? Well, that could be demonstrative religious activity that could terminate that student. And most remarkably of all, they actually argued at the Supreme Court that no state activity is necessary for this to happen. And so the coach or the teacher could be wearing the shirt kind of like what Coach is wearing right now, that Bremerton T-shirt, at the local pancake house or even at church engaged in prayer. And that alone could be enough to show endorsement. So this coercion by sight is something that the First Amendment has never countenanced, and it should not countenance it now. And frankly, I don't think it will. I think the Supreme Court's going to recognize that no one should be put to the choice of having to choose between their job that they love and their faith. Coach Kennedy does not have to shed his constitutional rights when he walks through the schoolhouse gates, but that's exactly what the school district is demanding that he do.
It's crazy because you think about, how many times, especially watching a sporting game, do you find yourself doing this, with the hands crossed, like, please God, please God. And it's a genuine prayer, whether you're a religious person or not. You believe in those moments, like, please, please, please. I see it happen with my kids. I see teachers doing it. It's like a sporting event or even a play. Just today, my daughter was in a little talent show and she's up there and you're like, please God, let it go okay. And, you can see the teachers feel the same. It's absurd to say that there can never be a connection with prayer or God in the school setting. That's to say humanity needs to change in every setting. So the question is whether you cross some line. So Coach, did you ever have somebody come to you and say, hey, coach, my kid feels coerced? Or did the school come to you and say, this kid went on record with us saying he feels coerced to do it, otherwise you're not going to play him in Saturday night's game?
Yeah, it's really absurd to me to think that I would use authority like that. I was an assistant coach. There's no way I even make the lineups for the varsity games. So that whole thing is crazy. And it isn't any kids. I challenge everybody in the media, in school. They did a complete investigation. I said, find one kid that felt coerced or felt pressured or anything. And they couldn't do it. Even to today, it's just not a thing that we did at our school. Me telling a kid he had to pray is as bad as me telling him that he can't pray. So, and I really went with the school district and said, hey, I don't want to cause any problems for the school. I would just want to coach football. So it really, only thing it came down to was me praying by myself. And I thought we were good when I agreed with them. I said, hey, you don't want me to pray with the kids? Fine. I'm not going to do it anymore. And I never prayed with them again. So they're talking about a practice that didn't even exist anymore of me praying with kids or kids joining me. It just wasn't happening anymore.
At the oral arguments, Jeremy, the liberal justices and even Brett Kavanaugh tried to zero in on this coercion question, trying to figure out whether, because there's the explicit complaint, hey, I feel coerced. And then there's the, well, how do you know? Maybe the ones who feel coerced might not say anything because they're trying to stay in the good graces. Here's a little soundbite of how that went.
What about the player who thinks, if I don't participate in this, I won't start next week? Or the player who thinks, if I do participate in this, I will start next week, and the players wants to start.
So that's where I think making a clear message that that's inappropriate, that this doesn't matter for those purposes. That's how you deal with those problems. And if there is a coach or a teacher,
how will you ferret that out? Because every player is trying to get on the good side of the coach, and every parent is worried about the coach exercising favoritism in terms of the starting lineup, playing time, recommendations for colleges, etc.
That if you look at our prayer cases, the idea of why the school can discipline him is that puts a kind of undue pressure, a kind of coercion on students to participate in religious activities when they may not wish to, when their religion is different or when they have no religion.
All right. So what of that, Jeremy?
Well, look, the First Amendment still protects Coach Kennedy's free exercise rights as well. And that's the tension that we're feeling in the air right now when we listen to those hard questions asked of Paul Clement at the argument here. But the First Amendment has already struck that balance for us. I mean, the same thing could be said in reverse, couldn't it? That if a coach does not engage in religious activity, does that coerce religious students to have to abandon their religious rights? The better aspect of this is to follow what we've followed for 200 plus years in this country, which is to allow people of faith to be, people of faith, that they don't have to hide who they are. They don't have to run off into the janitor's closet in order to pray. They don't have to run up to the press box and hide on the floor in order to engage in religious activity. Instead, we welcome them into the public square, including within our public schools. The question of whether or not this is government speech has just already been answered. This is private speech. It's Coach Kennedy's private prayer out there on the 50-yard line. That it takes place after the game is really of no incident whatsoever. If the school district can't use this as an opportunity to teach its students that they're going to run into people of faith in the public square, then, I got to wonder if they can teach anything at all ever again. This should be a great opportunity to remind our up-and-coming students that they live in a pluralistic society with a lot of ideological backgrounds and viewpoints that they should welcome and see throughout the public square, rather than force someone into hiding or to censor their speech because someone might somewhere see it and feel coerced. Yeah. Seeing and feeling things is not the standard that we've upheld under the First Amendment for 200 plus years now.
Are the high fuel costs putting a damper on your summer vacay plans? From higher prices at the pump to a jump in airfare, it's getting more expensive to get away for a week. But what if you could soak up those vacay vibes year-round in the privacy of your own home? Get a Michael Phelps swim spa by Master Spas. Whether you want to stay close to home this summer or you just want to extend your break, a Michael Phelps swim spa by Master Spas can transform your backyard into an oasis. It's a vacation right there. It combines the benefits of a pool with the therapy of a hot tub. It will reinvent your family time. You're going to love it, and your family and friends will too. Michael Phelps Swim Spas by Master Spas come in a variety of sizes to complement almost any yard, even if it's a small one. Don't panic. They've got you. And since it's heated, you can use it year-round in any climate. Michael Phelps Swim Spas are 100% made in the USA by Master Spas, which is the world's largest swim spa manufacturer. Go to masterspas.com, put in the promo code MK to save $1,000 on a Michael Phelps Swim Spa or $500 on a Master Spas hot tub. That's masterspas.com, promo code MK. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.